Welcome back, true believers, to the True Alien Podcast. You know, your daily dose of the weird, the wild, and the wonderful world of aliens, abductions, UFOs, and all things paranormal. I'm your host, Adrian Smith, and get ready for another mind-blowing paranormal probe. Today, we're taking you straight to the heart of Brazil, 1977, for a look at the Colares flap. We'll separate fact from fiction, or at least try to. Joining me is Dr. Julia Jones, a leading expert in paranormal research. Welcome to the show, Julia.
Thanks for having me, Adrian. Always ready to tackle a good mystery.
All right, listeners, if you're into true alien stories like this one, hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Your feedback keeps our spaceship fueled up and ready for more paranormal probes. Now imagine a peaceful fishing village suddenly thrown into a nightmare, strange lights in the sky, unexplained burns, and terrifying hallucinations. That was Colares in 1977, and right in the middle of it all was the town's only doctor, Dr. Isabella Ferreira.
What's really interesting here is that Dr. Ferreira's experience in Colares wasn't just a medical mystery. It became a psychological one as well. Think about it. You're a doctor trained in logic and reason, and suddenly your patients are describing encounters with blinding lights and are suffering from these bizarre spiraling burns.
Not to mention they're deeply traumatized and talking about hallucinations and voices in their heads.
Yeah.
Must have felt like a doctor's worst nightmare.
Absolutely. And then you have this local folklore about the chupa chupa, these mysterious lights that supposedly suck the life out of people. Imagine the collective fear and paranoia gripping the town. It really makes you consider the impact of pre-existing beliefs when you analyze these kinds of cases.
It's like that line between what's real and what's imagined completely blurs. One of the accounts that really stood out to me was from a young, healthy fisherman named Tiago. He was attacked by these lights and ended up in Dr. Ferreira's clinic completely terrified and babbling about voices. His case could offer some insight into the psychological effects of these alleged alien encounters.
Tiago's story raises so many questions. Were his hallucinations a product of psychological trauma? Were they a physiological response to some unknown energy or technology? Or, and this is where it gets really interesting, could they have been a form of telepathic communication, as some researchers have suggested?
It really makes you wonder what's going on inside the brain during these encounters. But just when things couldn't get weirder, the military shows up, puts the town under quarantine, and takes over Dr. Ferreira's clinic. It's like they went straight from a medical crisis to a military occupation.
The military's involvement always adds another layer of intrigue to these cases, doesn't it? Were they there to contain a potential threat, as they claimed? Or was their true purpose to cover up evidence of extraterrestrial activity? It's a question that has fueled conspiracy theories for decades.
And right in the thick of all this, you have this mysterious figure named Davi. He's described as otherworldly, claims to be immune to the attacks, and says he can help. Who is this guy, Julia?
Davi's presence is one of the most puzzling aspects of this case. His origins are shrouded in mystery, and his claims of immunity raise so many questions. Is he simply a gifted individual with an unusual ability? Or could he be something more? Perhaps a hybrid or even a modified human, as some theories suggest.
Those are some wild theories. I'm definitely going to unpack those a bit later. Okay, listeners, that's where we'll leave off for now. Make sure to tune into part 2, where we dive even deeper into the Colares mystery, analyze the evidence, and try to unravel the enigma that is Davi. Welcome back to the True Alien Podcast, listeners. Last time we left off with the military taking over Colares and the arrival of the enigmatic Davi. It's about to get even weirder, trust me.
What's fascinating here is how the military's presence completely transforms Dr. Ferreira's clinic. They bring in all this high-tech equipment, or turning it into a makeshift lab. Talk about a crash course in extraterrestrial medicine.
It must have felt like her world got flipped upside down. From treating everyday ailments to suddenly being thrust into the middle of a potential alien encounter investigation, I wonder what went through her mind.
Well, she was a woman of science, committed to finding answers no matter how strange or unsettling.
Right.
And the military saw an opportunity to study these phenomena to perhaps weaponize this technology if they could.
Speaking of strange phenomena, remember Tiago the fisherman who is tormented by those vivid hallucinations? He becomes their key test subject.
Right. During one experiment, they expose him to this pulsing light.
Yeah.
And his hallucinations completely vanish. And the monitor showed something even more incredible. His cells were regenerating at an impossible rate.
Hold on. His cells were regenerating, like Wolverine-style healing. That's insane.
It was a medical marvel, and it raises some truly mind-boggling questions about the capabilities of this technology, assuming it was technology. What if they could harness this for healing purposes? Think of the implications for medicine.
It's both exciting and terrifying to think about. And this is where Davi, our mysterious stranger, drops a bombshell. He tells Dr. Ferreira this whole thing isn't an attack, but a modification.
That statement changes everything. It implies intentionality, a deliberate attempt to alter human biology. And it also begs the question, what is the end goal of this modification?
I bet that's a question Dr. Ferreira desperately wanted answered. Meanwhile, Colares is transformed into a full-blown war zone. Military patrols, helicopters buzzing overhead, a palpable sense of fear and paranoia in the air.
This really highlights the concept of invisible war. There's this overwhelming military presence, this sense of impending danger, yet the enemy is unseen, unknown.
It must have been incredibly psychologically taxing for the townspeople.
Yeah.
Not to mention the pressure on Dr. Ferreira. She's caught between a terrified community, a secretive military, and these unexplainable events.
And yet, despite the chaos, she remains dedicated to finding answers. She pushes herself to the limit, analyzing data, stealing samples, risking everything to understand what's happening.
She's a true hero in this story, no doubt.
Yeah.
And then we get these intriguing glimpses into Davi's past. He mentions struggling with sleep because of other thoughts, constantly buzzing in his mind.
This detail is crucial. Remember the victim's claims of telepathic communication from the Chupa Chupa. Could Davi be experiencing something similar, a residual effect of his own encounter?
It's like he's connected to these beings on a level we can't even begin to comprehend. But is he a victim or something else entirely?
That leads us to the question of Davi's modifications. Remember his claim of immunity to the attacks. What if he isn't just a witness, but a product of this alien intervention?
You're suggesting he might be a hybrid or even a modified human.
It's a possibility worth considering. There's a long history of alleged alien abductions and genetic manipulation. Davi could be a living example of this.
That would certainly explain his unique abilities and his connection to these beings. But if he is a hybrid, what does that say about the aliens' intentions? Are they trying to create something new, something that blends human and alien traits?
It's a chilling thought, and one that we'll explore further as we delve deeper into the Colares mystery. But for now, let's shift our focus back to Dr. Ferreira.
Right, she's still trying to piece together this puzzle. And then in a moment of pure luck, she stumbles upon a decrypted military transmission. It mentions non-hostile intent and a potential symbiotic exchange.
Now, the term symbiosis refers to a mutually beneficial relationship between two different species. We see examples of this all the time in nature, like the bee and the flower, or the clownfish and the sea anemone.
So are you suggesting these aliens, these beings that have terrorized an entire town, actually want to help us?
It's a mind-boggling concept, but the transmissions suggest they need something from us, and perhaps we could benefit from this exchange as well.
This completely changes the narrative. It's no longer just a story of fear and abduction, but potentially one of cooperation, even evolution.
But this theory takes an even more dramatic turn when a massive disc-shaped craft appears over Colares, abducting a villager in broad daylight.
Whoa, we're not talking about those strange lights anymore. This is a full-blown alien spaceship making a house call.
It's a significant escalation in their actions. Their objectives seem to be shifting, becoming more overt, more desperate, perhaps.
And Dr. Ferreira, witnessing this abduction, tries to intervene, but is stopped by the military commander.
Imagine the tension in that moment, the fear, the confusion, the clash of ideologies.
And then, Davi, the Enigma utters a chilling question. They got what they want. Now the question is, what do we want?
It's a turning point in the story. The stakes have been raised. It's no longer just about survival. It's about understanding the motives of these beings and deciding how humanity will respond.
And what does Dr. Ferreira do? She makes a choice that will change everything. She decides to trust Davi to flee Colares and journey deep into the heart of the Amazon. Talk about a leap of faith.
It's a decision fraught with ethical complexities. She's abandoning her patients, her community, her entire life. But perhaps she sees this as the only way to truly understand what's happening, to find a solution to this crisis.
Welcome back to the True Alien Podcast, folks. Last time we left Dr. Isabella Ferreira and Davi fleeing into the Amazon, a move as bold as it is risky.
It really is a classic story of venturing into the unknown. They're chasing whispers and rumors about others who've encountered these beings, hoping to find some answers in the depths of the rainforest.
And speaking of the unknown, the Amazon is a pretty intense place, Julia. Beautiful, but dangerous. Finding these people, if they even exist, must have felt like searching for a needle in a haystack.
Exactly. And the deeper they go, the more the jungle seems to mirror the mystery itself. Dense, layered, full of hidden things.
Their search leads them down some strange paths, right? Weren't there rumors of a healer with shimmering skin, someone who could talk to animals? Even a woman who could disappear?
It's a fascinating blend of folklore and possible truth. You have to wonder if they were chasing actual leads or being lured deeper into the mystery.
I bet Dr. Ferreira, with her scientific background, found it all pretty challenging. And Davi, with his cryptic pronouncements and strange abilities, I can't imagine that made things any easier.
Their dynamic is definitely one of the most compelling aspects of this case. Two people from completely different worlds forced to rely on each other in this extraordinary situation.
And then there's that moment where Isabella has a breakthrough. She realizes they shouldn't be looking for individuals, but tracking the attacks themselves.
It's a brilliant shift in strategy. They move from reactive to proactive, trying to anticipate the next move in this invisible war.
And that leads them to a devastated village, right? The aftermath of a recent attack.
Yes, a chilling reminder of the stakes involved. But there, amidst the tragedy, they find a clue. A young boy with a faint glow beneath his skin, much like Davi's.
Wow, that's a huge development.
Yeah.
It directly links Davy to these modifications he's been talking about.
It's the most concrete evidence they've found so far that something truly strange, perhaps even extraterrestrial, is happening.
And this boy leads them to a clearing. And that's where they discover the alien base. Metal structures, a shimmering force field. Talk about a sci-fi moment.
The discovery of that base takes the story from speculation to undeniable reality. It confirms that they are dealing with advanced technology and non-human intelligence.
And then out of that base comes the woman abducted from Colares, holding a glowing baby. It's almost too much to process.
It's an image that raises more questions than it answers. Is this an exchange, a manipulation, something else entirely? What's the significance of the glowing baby?
This is where Davy takes that incredible risk and enters the force field. Knowing what we know now, his claim of immunity becomes even more intriguing.
It's a moment of pure courage, or perhaps desperation. He's stepping into the unknown, putting his trust in something he may not even fully understand.
And Isabella, forced to wait outside, must have felt a mix of fear, hope, and I imagine a good dose of anger.
It's a testament to the strength of their bond that she doesn't abandon him, that she waits to see what happens.
And when Davy finally emerges, he brings back the truth. A dying world, a desperate attempt to survive, and the belief that human DNA holds the key.
Classic science fiction, but here presented as a disturbing reality. And the fact that they're targeting children, focusing on their regenerative potential, just adds to the moral complexity.
It forces us to consider that maybe there are no good guys and bad guys in this story, just different beings fighting for survival.
Exactly, and it leaves Isabella with an impossible choice. Does she try to stop them, even if it means condemning an entire species?
And Davi, ever the wild card, decides to become that Trojan horse, using his own modifications to disrupt the aliens from within.
It's a plan that's as daring as it is desperate. It underscores the fact that they're fighting a war they never asked for with tools they barely comprehend.
So Davi re-enters the force field, and what follows is pure chaos. Tremors, light, sound. It must have felt like the end of the world.
And when it's all over, the base is gone. Scorched earth is all that remains. Davi's sacrifice, his gamble, seems to have worked.
But at a huge cost. Isabella is left alone, branded a fugitive, forever changed by what she experienced.
And the question that lingers, what happened to Davi? Did he survive, or did he become something else entirely?
I guess that's a mystery we'll never truly know. But the Colares flap is a powerful reminder that the universe is vast, and our place in it is far from certain.
It challenges our understanding of reality, our concepts of good and evil, and forces us to confront the very nature of our own humanity.
Well, folks, that's our paranormal probe into the Colares flap. Story that leaves us with more questions than answers, but hey, that's what makes this journey so fascinating, right? If you like this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. It helps more people discover the True Alien Podcast and join us on these mind-bending adventures. And remember, keep looking up true believers.